But I was longing for a community center, a place where I would not be discriminated against based on my skin pigmentation or status in society. Eventually, I was referred to my psychiatrist, who is also my therapist, Dr. Claire Payne at Mount Sinai Hospital, and I have been seeing her ever since. Dr. Payne does both the mental health therapy and trauma. She and I talked a lot, and she allowed me to express the kind of case management that will help me. Eventually, she has referred me to another place called the Cross Boundaries, which is an ethno-racial place, and I've received great help there as well. But due to the supportive housing, I was able to receive a lot of help, housing and so forth. And today, I am what I am today, standing in front of you, being able to talk with you, to talk about this dilemma, this condition that we're facing today of poverty, racism, discrimination. Today, 21st century, we're still facing these situations. It's a shame. Throughout my presentation today, I will focus on three key areas, namely poverty, racism, and mental health. But before I start, I have a question for you, but you don't have to give me an answer. How many of you know that we do have our personal biases and prejudices? Do we know that? We have our biases and prejudices, especially when we are dealing with those individuals who are now from our circles, who appear to not to look like us. Do we know that? I just wanted to start with that, a self-examination, especially for those aspiring to travel abroad to do wonderful work, which is a gift to help people outside your familiar world. It is best to examine yourself and to know your biases, because from my experience of slightly over 30 years being abroad, I have faced things, many of which contributed to my suffering. Poverty. Imagine Canada is one of the richest countries in the world. Speaking from a global perspective, let's also include the US. But when I first came, the first thing I saw that really caught my attention was during the winter back in 85, 86. I've seen people, the racialized people in Detroit, and they were asking, I didn't speak English then, I recall, they were asking me for a quarter. Do you have a quarter? Hey man, you got a quarter, man? And I didn't understand. Every time I would say, yes, yes. So I didn't know. Do you have a quarter, man? I didn't have the money. I said, oh, yes. So they're following me everywhere. I'm like, why are these people following me? You know. So, and I began to master the language. I thought it would be important to understand because I was getting in trouble with people, and even I had to learn dime, nickel, and quarters. One asked me for a nickel, and the way I pronounced it, it sounded like the word that most people don't really welcome. When I said nickel, it's, oh, you calling me that name? Yeah, you're just like me. I said, but I said the name again. You know, it came out like the N name, and I got in trouble. The guy followed me, and so at any rate, I had to learn the differences. I had to learn the difference so I could connect with my new environment, because it was important. Poverty today, there are many factors that contribute to that, to poverty. People are being marginalized somehow, 21st century. I've seen, because coming from Africa, I've experienced it. When I say to you, let's say, when I say Africa, what thing that comes to mind to you? The first thing that comes to mind versus when I say, let's say, Germany. What comes to mind? But let's reflect on this. Think of every natural resource that a person can think of. Any natural resources. Africa has it. Which means Africa can make anything, can produce anything. But they call my home the poorest place. I still don't understand. When I came here and I began to understand things, then I began to realize the injustices, especially now in 21st century. It's sad. Even until today, I'm still marginalized, racialized person. I have to change the way I present myself. I have a daughter who's 5 years of age. She tells me when I go to certain places, Daddy, put on some glasses, or put your glasses because they'll think you're smart. Imagine, every time I have to impress, to make myself look extra good so that I can be accepted. Every day I face that. That's why I say, do you understand your own biases and prejudices? Which makes other individuals feel like they are nothing. Every day. It's ingrained in me when I go to a place I have to behave a certain way. Homelessness, part of that poverty again. That is rampant in the West. I couldn't believe. In the West, when you see the GDP of the gross national product, which basically what the country produces, and you see the US, you see Canada, it's so huge, China. But when you see the homelessness in the West, go to the streets of Paris, the streets of Munich, or Brussels, London, New York, Detroit. It is incredible, unbelievable today. What is going on today? I'm saying this because you are the leaders of tomorrow. You have a greater responsibility to make the changes tomorrow. Some of you here may become prime ministers of this country. Some of you may become mayors. You have a responsibility. Remember that. Oh, boy. The next point is racism. Can you imagine I'm talking about racism today? Like people don't like each other. They don't hate each other, pretty much. My experience in the U.S., where I spent over 20 years, it's interesting that I've never had a true Caucasian or white friend to be a friend who could call me too, to call each other. I've made the effort. It never happened. I only had one. He used to call me to come, but what I noticed then, he started to follow me in my bedroom sometimes. Then I said, oh, what's going on here? But I realized, don't get me wrong, I'm not against gay persons, but because he was homosexual, so he had his own interest. But I sat with him, I explained to him, I care about you as a friend, but if you have other, it's not going to work. After that day, it did not. Again, I'm not against gay friends, but I just spoke with him because that was not something that I was down with, or in terms of my sexual orientation. I told him that I aspired to get married one day and to have a bunch of children, because I'm African, So, under racism, I am breaking it down into 3 components: education, culture, and health care. Under education, when I attended Mercer University, the Theological Seminary on the outskirts of Atlanta, that's when I have experienced discrimination in a seminary that treats people, or that trains people to become pastors, where I felt like an outcast, because most of the seminaries, like 90% or over 90% are Caucasians of European descent, meaning white, and maybe 3% were Negroes or blacks like myself. And at that time, I was maybe two of us there only. And I saw myself each time in my own little corner, and I would try to approach groups. Then I realized some of those students were children of KKK members. You know KKK, the Ku Klux Klans, those used to lynch black people, to hang them, burn them. They were the children of the KKK or grandchildren. So, and I saw myself being marginalized or racialized, being pushed aside. That's in that environment that used to treat future missionaries to travel the world, to go to Africa, to preach the gospel of love. There I was, someone from Africa. Next to them, I felt like an outcast. I would say hello at times, no hello back. But they were getting ready to travel abroad, to go and preach, help the people from where I was from. The next point is culture. In the U.S., because of my experiences with mental health, a few times I've gotten in trouble because I didn't understand why it was happening. The trouble with the law, I didn't understand. But the area where I was living in, which is Georgia, I was in Gwinnett County. That is the county where you see prominent KKK members. And they walk on the streets. You see them sometimes. I was renting a house next to a KKK family, and I realized I will greet them when they walk outside the family. They are walking, and I say, "Good morning." They will not look at me. This is a reality, not making this up. It's a reality, 21st century, only a few years back. No answer back to you. Just imagine. It hurts, you know. It hurts. You wonder, what is next? Will I be lynched also? Will my home here be set on fire? That's today. Again, the leaders of tomorrow. You have a responsibility. There's a lot to be done. That's why I call today the day of opportunity. Are you with me? Are you with me? Une journée d'opportunité pour apporter le changement, de combattre la pauvreté, le racisme et la discrimination. Il est temps d'arrêter cela. It's time to eradicate this poverty. It is unnecessary. With the numbers that we have in terms of GDPs we have from the so-called rich countries, something is wrong. In a world of billions of people, less than 1,000 are rich or millionaires. Less that are moving this world we live in. How does it sound to you? Something is definitely wrong. Healthcare. My doctor, my therapist, my psychologist, Dr. Claire Payne, she prepares me. What I like about her, when I see her, she tells me that I have to be careful because I told her that I'm often afraid, I have fear, because I've lost a few friends since I came here who have been shot dead by the police force. And they happen to be people of my skin pigmentation. Imagine I have children now. I started my family late. And the fear that I have that my son, who looks like me, one day could be shot dead. So I'm thinking now maybe I should just take him to Africa. But if I go to my country now, I'll be in trouble because I was accepted here as a modern-day refugee. Today, 21st century, we are still receiving refugees going on, and human trafficking, some people call it today. She tells me, you know what? You say, Fred, you need to make some business cards. I say, business cards? Yes, if the police stops you, because about 2 years ago, I was still having the effects of mental health, and she's helped me a lot. She told me how to conduct myself, even going at Mount Sinai Hospital. On the floor, where I go to the 9th floor, I see the only Negro person who goes there to receive mental health care. The only. I have never seen another one. But when you go to Humber River Medical Center, mental health place, you only see people of my skin pigmentation. Interesting, eh? Marginalized, racialized, everything. It contributes to poverty, and that's inequality. That is not right. C'est l'inégalité. Nous devons arrêter cela. Il est le temps, n'est-ce pas? N'est-ce pas? Êtes-vous avec moi? Il est le temps d'apporter le changement. Il est le temps d'arrêter ce genre d'habitude de maltraiter les autres parce qu'ils ne sont pas comme eux. The next topic will be mental health and stigma. It was displayed here. 1 in 5 people will deal with a mental health issue at some point in their life here in Canada, even worse in the US. Imagine, worse in the US. That's a serious problem, and that will lead to poverty. It will affect the economy of this country. And I wish I could go deeper to talk about the same situation in Africa and the causes of this, even in Africa. Now, mental health across Africa is rampant, unbelievable, because the pre-designed civil wars, the pre-designed rebel groups, the killing, the massacring of lives of innocent children, unbelievable. But we have tons of multinational ONGs in Africa. I'm sorry, I wish I could do more, but my time is limited. And the spread and root causes of mental health across the African region, it is unnecessary. So many people are having this problem, including myself, again, because of inequality and racism and poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. And right now, I would like to introduce to you my colleague, Veronica Snooks, right here.
Stay up with me if you want. You want to stay or you can stay?